All right, picture this. You're home alone. It's been a long week, and you're finally kicking back, you know? The doors are locked, the house is quiet, you feel completely safe. And then you hear it. A sound that absolutely should not be there. A sound that tells you you're not alone anymore.
It's a question we don't often ask ourselves, right? Because our home is supposed to be our fortress, our sanctuary. But what happens when that feeling gets completely shattered? Well, today we're going to dive into some stories that are truly unsettling, because they explore exactly that.
Because the real horror we're talking about here isn't just a random break-in. No, it's something so much more personal, so much more calculated. This is about an intruder who doesn't need to break a window because they already have the key. And in some cases, I mean that literally.
Okay, so our first case, it starts on a quiet Friday night. A young guy is home by himself, family's away for the weekend. The house is totally silent until he hears that unmistakable, floor-shaking rumble of the garage door opening.
And this all happens incredibly fast. At 11:30, he hears the door. Just a minute later, it hits him. Wait, nobody's supposed to be coming home. He grabs a baseball bat, and by 11:33, just 3 minutes after the sound, he's face-to-face with two men in his parents' bedroom. 2 minutes after that, it's all over, and he's unconscious on the floor.
So this is the crucial question, right? How did they pull this off? This wasn't a shattered window or a kicked-in door. Nope. The intruders knew the family's exact schedule. They knew the only way into the garage was with that little button inside the car. And, this is the key, they knew the car was always left unlocked in the driveway. This wasn't random. This was planned by somebody with inside knowledge.
Can you imagine, in the middle of that confrontation, he's outnumbered, he's overpowered, and he honestly believes he's about to die. But what's so telling about this quote is, it's not just fear for himself, it's that gut-wrenching, personal thought of how his death would absolutely destroy his family. That's real terror.
Now, let's move on to our second case. This one swaps brute force for pure, cold manipulation. It's a story that shows how an intruder doesn't even have to be in the same building to get inside your home. And it all starts with a single, urgent phone call.
So it's 9 p.m. The victim gets a panicked call. Her mother's had a fall, she's in the ER, you need to get here now. So she bolts out the door. Doesn't even think to lock it. Why would you? 20 minutes later, she's at the hospital, but her mother isn't there. 5 minutes after that, the horrible, sinking realization hits her. She's been tricked. By the time she races home, it's too late. The robbery is already done.
So what made this lie so perfect? So believable? The caller wasn't just guessing. They had details. They knew her mother's full name. They knew her home address. And they even knew the extremely personal detail that she just had a hip replacement. Armed with that kind of private information, tell me, who wouldn't believe that call was real?
And this quote, this is that awful moment of clarity. The shock isn't just, oh no, I've been robbed. It's the much colder, much more terrifying thought that someone knows enough about your private life, your family, your mom's health, to build this cruel, elaborate trap just for you. And this is where it just gets plain evil. The thieves didn't just grab a laptop or a TV, they took things with zero resale value. They literally emptied prescription bottles and physically took family photos out of their frames. This was never about money. This was about causing the most personal, violating damage possible.
Okay, our final case. And this one might be the most psychologically terrifying of all. This is a story that just completely blurs the line between a home invasion and a full-on gaslighting campaign. It's designed to make the victim question their own sanity. So get this. A man just shows up completely agitated, insisting this house is his, and he has proof. He's got a lease, mail addressed to him there, and he knows these tiny specific quirks about the house. But here's the victim's reality. He's lived there alone for a year. The landlord? Never heard of the guy. The previous tenants? No clue. And here's the absolute kicker. The intruder has recent photos of himself inside the house on the victim's furniture, taken on days the victim knows he was home alone. How is that possible?
And this quote just nails the horror of it. The evidence is so convincing, so impossible, that the victim starts to wonder if he's the one going crazy. See, the attack isn't just on his home anymore, it's on his very perception of reality. And the story isn't even over. 2 weeks later, he comes home to find the place has been completely torn apart. But there's no forced entry, which means the intruder had a key. And again, nothing of value was taken. This was a frantic search for something specific. It proves this was never a random encounter. It was a targeted, ongoing, and deeply disturbing obsession.
So, you look at these 3 stories, all so different, but all equally terrifying. What's the one thing that connects them all? It's a simple, chilling fact. In every single case, the attack was deeply, deeply personal.
Let's just break it down. Case 1 used physical entry, but it was only possible because they knew the family's schedule and the secret to the garage. Case 2 used social engineering, weaponizing private medical information. And Case 3 weighed psychological warfare, using intimate photos and details of the house itself. You see the pattern? In every single instance, the weapon was personal knowledge.
And that is the real fear here. That's the takeaway. The trauma that lasts isn't about a missing laptop. It's about the violation of trust. It's the destruction of the one place you're supposed to feel safe. And more than anything, it's the chilling, awful knowledge that this wasn't random. Someone knew you, they studied you, and they specifically chose you.
So it leaves us with one last, pretty unsettling question to think about. In a world where we share so much of our lives, who out there knows just enough about you to do the same? It's a sobering thought, isn't it? About just how fragile that line between safety and vulnerability really is.